Early signs suggest Trump's actions are taking a toll on Trump brand. Since the day Donald J. Trump began his presidential campaign, there were questions about how the Trump brand would be affected. Would his stream of insults hurt viewership of The Apprentice or sales of Ivanka Trump shoes? Or was all the attention good for business, a marketing adage President Trump could have learned during his time as a reality television star? The answer may surprise him. Major companies appear to be reevaluating their relationships with the Trump brand, which, in some instances, does not appear to have benefited from Mr. Trump's presidency. Hinting at lackluster sales, Neiman Marcus confirmed on Friday that it had dropped Ivanka Trump's jewelry line from its website. A day earlier, her brand had disappeared from Nordstrom.com, a move reported by the fashion news site Racked. Not everyone was happy that retailers were distancing themselves from the Trump name. By Saturday, some Twitter users were posting "boycott Nordstrom." Companies also seem worried about how protests over the president's actions, particularly his recent executive order on immigration, could hurt sales. On Friday, Miller Coors, a brewing company, contacted Shannon Coulter, a founder of GrabYourWallet.org, a campaign pushing for boycotts of Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom, and other businesses associated with the Trump name. He wanted to talk about why they were on the list, she said, adding, "I think all the companies are paying close attention." At a time when protests and boycotts can easily be organized online, brands face more pressure to respond to consumer demands. Chris Lurie, a marketing consultant with Mulberry Astor, said, "Before he became president, I think that a lot of consumers were indifferent to the Trump brand." He added, "It's going to be harder for people to ignore the connection." The Miller Coors name appeared on GrabYourWallet.org after Peter Coors, a board member of its parent company, Molson Coors, lent his name to a fundraiser for Mr. Trump in June. Miller Coors said it did not support candidates in presidential races, but respected the rights of its workers to do so.
"Boycotting our brands only harms hard-working employees and their families and is counter to the positive progress that we should all be encouraging and delivering at a time when our nation seems so divided," Marty Maloney, a spokesman, said. Mr. Trump and his daughter have stepped away from executive roles at the Trump Organization, which still earns money from golf courses, hotels and other properties around the world. Ms. Trump has also stepped away as head of her brand. Because Mr. Trump's company is privately held, it is hard to know what impact his presidency has had on his businesses. But the merchandise side of the Trump licensing empire may be more vulnerable to negative attention. Retailers around the country are going to say, "Do we need the aggravation?" Rosemary K. Young, senior director of marketing for Ms. Trump's brand, said in a statement that the company keep expanding and that it had significant year-over-year revenue growth in 2016. Representatives from Macy's, which sells Ms. Trump's clothing, handbags and shoes, did not respond to requests for comment. The retailer dropped Mr. Trump's clothing line early in his campaign after he called Mexican immigrants killers and rapists. Companies have also faced pressure to back away from the Apprentice franchise, of which Mr. Trump is an executive producer. Kawasaki said last month that it would pull its sponsorship, though the Japanese company seemed to backtrack somewhat within hours. Ms. Coulter said the Honest Company, whose products will appear in an episode of the new Celebrity Apprentice, had committed not to advertise for the rest of the season or next year. The brand confirmed that it had limited involvement with the show, which has not yet been renewed for 2018. In addition to possibly repelling some advertisers, Mr. Trump's association with the show does not appear to have helped viewership much. On Thursday, he asked people perhaps jokingly to pray for the company's ratings at the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington. Mr. Leary, who backed Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, said, "If you're looking for a good opportunity to advertise, I would look beyond The Apprentice, because there's not going to be an upside." As the Trump name became politicized, so have brands associated with it. Just days after Dilly Toiber began trending on Twitter, a response to criticism that the ride-sharing app had undercut protests of Mr. Trump's immigration order, Uber's chief executive, Travis Kalanick, resigned from a presidential economic advisory council.